Hi, Lyssa here. Today I wanted to talk about something sort of near and dear to probably all of our hearts, which is how do we begin to embrace our imperfections? I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my life being pretty critical of many things about myself. And and so really this idea of embracing our imperfections comes from the idea of how do we start to acknowledge, become aware of, not pretend like it doesn't exist, like we're these perfect human beings, constantly striving to be in a place of I'm perfect, but rather acknowledge and embrace that we have these qualities that aren't always, I don't know, us operating at our very best. And then from that place of awareness, be willing to take a look at what needs to happen in order for things to change. There's a real theory that says what we don't know about, we can't do anything about, right? So if I don't know what I don't know, then it's really hard to make any kind of significant change in a way that I'm thinking about things or the way that I'm behaving. So taking it to that next level of I know and I'm aware of, it may not be easy for me to do something differently, but I'm very aware of whatever this thing is that is coming up for me is really important when it comes to looking at if I wanted to change a behavior. Yet there are natural parts of just being a human being that we're probably not going to change significantly. So for instance, if I have an instant response to something and that instant response has been really hardwired into my brain after years and years of using that particular strategy, it's probably going to stay there. I have clients when we're talking, they're like, I instantly get to a no. First thing is a no. And my thought is it's probably always going to instantly be a no. What we're doing when we really embrace the fact that the no may not be the most useful strategy for us in every single situation is that we start to then shorten the time between the no and the, okay, take a breath. That's not how I want to show up in this situation. It doesn't matter that I'm not perfect and I can't perfectly just show up with a different response. It just is. And I can now choose to do something slightly different than what my immediate response was. And there's a grace that comes through the process of acknowledging and accepting ourselves the way that we are, which doesn't mean we stay there forever in that space, but that we acknowledge and are aware of where we are and have an open willingness to shift into something that might be more useful or effective for us. It's interesting, I've been working with a lot of executives on changing how they work with their direct reports and going from a telling model of an advice monster into more of a coaching demeanor with their direct reports, where they're asking more questions, getting curious, seeing what their direct report knows before launching into how is this going to move forward and what are my ideas about how this needs to move forward. I had a really interesting conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, what's going to support you in doing this? And the thing was to be aware that I'm doing it, that I want to do it, name it. So in his coaching session, he was like, I really want to tell you what to do right now, but I'm going to resist. And I loved his vulnerability and truthfulness in that, so that he could then go, now I'm going to ask you a question. And by the end of the conversation, his direct report had actually come up with a very thoughtful plan on what they were going to do in order to move forward with what it was that they were working on. And that willingness to be vulnerable and notice and name where he wanted that vulnerability, but it wasn't what he wanted to do anymore, right? So accepting that he wasn't having the perfect question roll right off the top of his tongue, and just acknowledging it and being aware of it allows us to then choose a different response. So really, how imperfection is really one of those words that may or may not even be real. what is an imperfection that I see in myself, for somebody else, they may not see that as an imperfection. And what I may see as something really amazing about myself, somebody else may see as an imperfection. So there's also, how do we start to unhook ourselves from other people's opinions of us, and really get really conscious about our opinions of ourselves, and aware of where we have choices when it comes to letting go of being perfect, showing up imperfectly human, owning it, and course correcting as needed, depending on the situation. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Cheers, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.